A flash of impossible brightness tears the sky in two. For a breathless moment, the world is frozen in a stark, black and white photograph. And then the roar, a deep, guttural rumble that shakes the very ground beneath your feet. Today, we know this is atmospheric electrical discharge, but what if you didn't? What if you looked up at that terrifying, beautiful spectacle and saw a divine weapon being thrown, a celestial battle raging, or the furious roar of an angry god? For nearly all of human history, that's exactly what we saw. And that perception didn't just create myths, it shaped the very foundations of our world. Welcome to Origin Stories. Today, we're embarking on a journey to a time when thunder was the voice of the gods and lightning was their judgment. We'll uncover how this single powerful phenomenon was interpreted by cultures all across the globe, and how those interpretations gave us kings, laws, and some of the most enduring stories ever told. This isn't just a story about old myths, it's the story of how humanity tried to make sense of chaos, how we found meaning in fear, and how the quest to understand a storm in the sky ultimately led us to understand our own world in a profoundly new way. Let's travel back in time, way back. Before cities, before writing, before bronze or iron. Imagine you are a member of a small tribe, a hunter-gatherer. Your world is governed by the immediate and the tangible, the hunt, the changing seasons, the safety of your fire. Your understanding of the world is built on cause and effect. A rock falls because you drop it. An animal runs because it hears you. But the storm, it comes from nowhere. The sky, usually a source of light and warmth, turns on you. It screams, it throws spears of fire. There is no discernible cause, only an overwhelming, terrifying effect. What do you do with that kind of power? You can't fight it, you can't reason with it. You do the most human thing imaginable. You give it a name. You give it a will. You transform an it into a who. It's not just random chaos. It's the act of a vast, unseen entity. This is the birth of the sky god, a being as powerful and unpredictable as the storm itself. It's a way of putting a face to a faceless terror, the first step in trying to understand and perhaps even appease the forces that govern your life.
And this wasn't just a simple act of naming, it was a profound act of social organization. Have you ever wondered why, in so many cultures, the king of the gods is also the god of the sky and thunder? Because in a world without science, the storm was the single greatest demonstration of power imaginable. It was a power that could flatten trees, split rocks, and end a life in an instant. Therefore, any god who could command such power must be the ultimate authority, the boss, the king. This idea would echo down through the millennia, becoming a cornerstone of civilization itself. Let's travel to where it all began, Mesopotamia.
In the fertile lands between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, the ancient Sumerians, Akkadians, and Babylonians saw their world as one born from a great struggle between order and chaos. And their greatest story, the Enuma Elish, places the storm god at the very center of this cosmic battle. The story goes that before creation, there was only the swirling, monstrous chaos goddess, Tiamat.
The younger gods were powerless against her, so they chose a champion, a young, ambitious god named Marduk. They bestowed upon him all their powers, but his greatest weapon was one he created himself, the storm. The text describes him filling his body with a blazing flame, commanding the winds, and riding a storm chariot into battle. He used his lightning to defeat Tiamat, splitting her body in two to create the heavens and the earth. From chaos, he brought order. From the storm, he created the world. Marduk, the god of thunder, became the undisputed king of the gods, the patron deity of Babylon.
Now, why does this matter? Because by telling this story, the Babylonians weren't just explaining the weather. They were creating a divine blueprint for their own society. The king of Babylon wasn't just a man. He was Marduk's chosen representative on earth. His rule brought order to the people, just as Marduk brought order to the cosmos. The thunderclap wasn't just noise. It was a constant reminder of the ultimate power that legitimized the king's authority. Any rebellion against the king was a rebellion against the god who defeated chaos itself. This idea was so powerful that it was echoed by neighboring cultures. The Hittites had Tarhuna. The Canaanites had Baal-Hadad. All were powerful storm gods, slayers of chaotic sea monsters, whose worship was intrinsically linked to the concept of rightful kingship. The message was clear. Order comes from the sky, and power belongs to whoever can wield its fury.
Perhaps no image of a thunder god is more iconic than the one that comes to us from ancient Greece. Zeus, the king of Olympus, the father of gods and men. And what is his symbol, his weapon, his ultimate tool of power? The Keraunos, the thunderbolt. For the Greeks, the thunderbolt wasn't just a destructive force. It was an instrument of divine justice. Zeus wasn't just a cosmic bully. He was the upholder of Xenia, the sacred law of hospitality, and the protector of oaths. When he hurled a thunderbolt, it wasn't a random act of celestial anger. It was a sentence being passed. People who broke sacred trusts, who were arrogant, or who defied the divine order were said to have been struck by Zeus. A place where lightning struck the earth was considered sacred, a point of direct contact with the divine. Sometimes a special altar would be built there. The lightning bolt was Zeus's signature, proof that he was watching. It was the ultimate enforcement of cosmic law. When the Romans adopted the Greek pantheon, Zeus became Jupiter, Jupiter Optimus Maximus, the best and greatest. And they took the symbolism of the thunderbolt even further. For Rome, an empire built on law and military might, the thunderbolt became a potent symbol of imperial power. The eagle, a creature of the sky often associated with Zeus/Jupiter, became the standard of the Roman legions. Roman emperors were often depicted wielding the thunderbolt, visually declaring that their power was not just earned through conquest, but granted by the highest divine authority. The thunder that echoed over the 7 hills of Rome wasn't just a weather report. It was a divine endorsement of the most powerful empire the world had ever seen. It was the sound of order, law, and absolute authority, echoing the very same ideas first forged in Mesopotamia thousands of years earlier. But let's journey north to the cold, harsh lands of the Norsemen. Here, the storm god was not a king sitting on a distant sunny mountain. He was a warrior, a blue-collar champion of mankind, with red hair, a ferocious appetite, and an unquenchable thirst for battle. His name was Thor. Unlike the supreme king Zeus, Thor wasn't the ruler of the Norse gods. That was his father. Thor's job was more hands-on. He was the protector of Midgard, the realm of humans, against the forces of chaos, represented by the Jotnar, the giants. His chariot, pulled by 2 goats, was said to cause the rumbling of thunder as it rolled across the clouds. And his weapon? It's arguably the most famous mythological weapon of all time, the hammer, Mjolnir. When Thor threw his hammer, it created the flash of lightning. Mjolnir was forged by dwarves, the master craftsmen of the cosmos, and it was a symbol not just of destruction, but of protection, consecration, and blessing. The Vikings and other Norse peoples didn't just fear the storm. They saw it as evidence that their protector was at work, riding out to defend them from the monstrous forces that lurked at the edges of their world.
Now, here's a fascinating and little-known fact. The Vikings often wore amulets of Mjolnir for protection. But another symbol was also deeply connected to Thor and his thunderous power. Did you know that the swastika, a symbol now infamous for its 20th century appropriation, was for thousands of years a positive symbol across many cultures, including the Norse? To the Norse, this symbol, sometimes called a sun wheel or thunder cross, was believed to represent the spinning, crackling power of Mjolnir as it flew through the air. It was a symbol of luck, protection, and the holy power of the storm god. It's a powerful reminder of how symbols can change and how deeply our ancestors tried to capture the very essence of lightning's power and make it their own. But the story gets even bigger. Let's travel from the cold north to the warm, vibrant lands of ancient India. Here, in the earliest Hindu texts, the Vedas, we meet another mighty storm god, Indra. King of the Devas, Indra rides a divine elephant and wields a thunderbolt weapon called the Vajra. His most famous story, slaying the great serpent or dragon, Vritra, who had blocked all the world's rivers, causing a catastrophic drought. A storm god who wields a thunderbolt, who slays a chaotic dragon or serpent, who brings order and prosperity to the world. Does that sound familiar? Zeus battling Typhon, Marduk slaying Tiamat, Thor constantly fighting the world serpent, Jormungandr. This is no coincidence. It's an echo from our deepest past. Linguists and historians believe that these figures, Indra, Zeus, Thor, Jupiter, all stem from a common prehistoric Proto-Indo-European sky god. They are different branches of the same ancient tree of myth, a story of a divine sky father and his storm weapon that our ancestors carried with them as they spread across Europe and Asia thousands of years ago. The storm story is written into the very DNA of our languages and cultures. But the Indo-European model is not the only one. Half a world away, cultures developed entirely unique and equally fascinating interpretations of the storm. In Japan, thunder and lightning were the work of Raijin, a fearsome, demon-like spirit who was believed to create thunder by beating on a set of drums. He is often depicted alongside his brother Fujin, the god of wind. For the Japanese, thunder wasn't the voice of a king or the crash of a hammer. It was something more primal, more musical, more chaotic.
the percussive beat of a wild, untamable spirit. In China, the storm was intrinsically linked to the most powerful and auspicious creature in their cosmology. The Longwang, or Dragon Kings, were deities who commanded the weather. They lived in crystal palaces at the bottom of the ocean and were seen as the masters of water in all its forms: rain, rivers, seas, and yes, thunderstorms. Lightning was often seen as a manifestation of the dragon's power. Unlike the often violent European storm gods, dragons could be benevolent bringers of life-giving rain or wrathful agents of destructive floods. The storm was a reflection of the dragon's mood. And across the ocean, on the continents of the Americas, another powerful image emerged. From the Sioux of the Great Plains to the Kwakwakaka'wakw of the Pacific Northwest, many Native American tribes told stories of the Thunderbird. This was no mere bird. It was a colossal, supernatural being whose wingspan was so vast it was said to block out the sun. The beating of its mighty wings created the sound of thunder, and lightning flashed from its eyes or its beak. The Thunderbird was a powerful force of nature, often seen as a protector who fought against underwater spirits or horned serpents, restoring balance to the world. Like Thor, he was a champion. Like Zeus, he was a sky spirit of immense power. It's a testament to the universality of human experience. When faced with the awesome power of the storm, cultures everywhere, even with no contact, arrived at a similar conclusion. This must be the work of a great and powerful being in the sky. For millennia, humanity lived in this world of thunder gods, celestial hammers, and divine dragons. These stories provided comfort, explained the unexplainable, and reinforced social order. But then, something began to shift. A new way of thinking was taking hold, the Age of Enlightenment. The driving question was no longer who causes the storm, but what causes it. Enter Benjamin Franklin. Now, the story of him flying a kite in a thunderstorm is famous, but it's often misunderstood. He wasn't discovering electricity. Scientists, or natural philosophers as they were called, already knew about static electricity from experiments with Leyden jars. The big question was the lightning in the sky the same stuff as the little sparks they could create in their labs? In 1752, Franklin performed his dangerous, ingenious experiment. By flying a kite with a metal key attached into a storm cloud, he proved that lightning was, in fact, electricity. He showed that you could draw the electric fire down from the heavens. This was a monumental turning point in human history. With one spark jumping to his knuckle, thousands of years of mythology were shattered. The thunder was not the voice of a god. It was the sound of a superheated atmospheric shockwave. The lightning was not a divine weapon. It was a natural physical phenomenon. And here's another amazing fact, a physical echo of the myths themselves. When lightning, with its immense heat, hotter than the surface of the sun, strikes sandy soil, it can fuse the sand particles together, creating hollow glass tubes called fulgurites. They're often called petrified lightning or fossilized lightning. Can you imagine finding one of these in the ancient world? It looks like a piece of the lightning bolt itself, burrowed into the earth. It feels like tangible proof that something was thrown from the sky. In a way, these beautiful, strange objects are the perfect bridge between the mythic and the scientific. They are the physical remnant of the very force that inspired our ancestors to dream of gods and hammers. So, we unraveled the mystery. We replaced the gods with atmospheric physics. We invented the lightning rod, taming the divine fire and protecting our homes. We mapped the electrical charges in the clouds and understood the science of the thunderclap. But is it really as simple as that? Have we lost something in the translation from myth to science? I don't think so. The next time you find yourself watching a thunderstorm, think about this incredible journey. Think of the Babylonians seeing their world being born from the chaos. Think of the Greeks seeing justice being delivered from the heavens. Think of the Norsemen hearing the protective hammer of their champion, and the tribes of America seeing the majestic flight of the Thunderbird. We may know the what, but that doesn't diminish the wow. The awe we feel is the very same awe our ancestors felt. It's a connection we share with every human who has ever looked up at a stormy sky and felt small in the face of something so vast, so powerful, and so beautiful. The gods may have retreated from the clouds, but the wonder they left behind is still here, flashing in the sky and rumbling in our bones. It's an origin story that is, in a way, still being written every time a storm gathers on the horizon. What an incredible journey through time and myth. It really makes you see a simple thunderstorm in a whole new light. What's your favorite storm myth? Is there a story from your culture that we didn't cover? I'd love to read about it in the comments below. Let's start a conversation. And if you enjoyed unraveling this origin story with us, please consider giving this video a like and subscribing to the channel. It really helps us continue to explore these fascinating histories. Thanks for watching, and as always, stay curious.